Hello. If my voice sounds terrible, it's because I'm sick at the moment. But this is going to be sort of a YouTube comment in the form of a video because so much of what I had to say was visual. This just seemed easier. Um, so this is in response to Not Your Average EDC, Erica's video regarding the Benchmade Redoubt. And I was really fascinated at the difference in our take on the handle. Not in our difference aesthetically. I like how it looks, but I also agree that it looks like a toy at Target for like a boy to play army. And I also agree with a joke I saw in a YouTube comment where someone said it looked like the Eddie Bauer edition of a Subaru Outback made into a knife. Like, I like this visually, but I have to admit those are both true. But I guess the first thing I'm getting to is something I'm demonstrating right now. In the video, Erica mentioned that the knife felt very unbalanced, and she meant aesthetically unbalanced, and sort of in its purpose felt unbalanced. But one of the things that really strikes me about this knife is how well balanced it is with this handle. It's actually a worry I have about any upgrades to a heavier material is this handle is just absolutely perfectly balanced and nimble with this blade. Um, and I'm really actually curious to see if that changes with a change in handle materials, or if a company like Applied Weapons Tech is taking that into account when they make new scales. But I would really miss that. The nimbleness in a knife that isn't that light is something that I really love. Um, I feel like Erica's take on it versus my take on this knife is an interesting demonstration of just everyone's hands are different, and that's why there's so many knives. Um, the ergonomics on this are like perfect for me. The Griptilian, both the mini and the full size, have never quite worked for my hand, in spite of them being Benchmades for ergonomics. They just never quite worked for me. And when I saw this, I thought, oh, that just looks like it's going to work for me. And it really, really does. When I grip it in a hammer grip, like, oddly enough, it looks like you should be so far away from the blade, and yet when I grip it, like, I don't know that less blade could be sticking out from where my hand wants to be. And then if I put my thumb on it, I automatically go into this lovely hump with all this texture. The roundness that this is another thing I have to agree with. It does have a big dump truck ass, but I really like the way that nice big dump truck ass feels in my palm when I'm gonna put force down onto it. Um, and then the texture really holds it in place. And I love the continuous molded back because instead of meeting something that feels like this when I push onto it, like a sharp edged void, I get this panel of texture that fills into my palm, and it's really quite pleasant. Um, and I also find it very maneuverable. Like, because it's so well balanced, and because the handle has absolutely no obstruction. I'm doing this basically blind in the camera phone because it feels so well. I can really maneuver this around in a way that I kind of wish I'd brought one of my other Benchmades out. I can't do this with a lot of my knives. It's very nimble and repositionable, but still has really great traction for me, and that's a rare thing for me to find in a knife. That's a hard thing for me to find in a knife. But also it's well sized to my hand, and I'm actually surprised about that because I have a medium sized glove hand. I have very small hands for a man, and it just fits me very, very well. It clearly doesn't. The handle clearly doesn't fit Erica very well. I hope the new scales fit her much better and make it a better experience. I'm surprised that she didn't mention this coating. I hate this coating. I like the way it looks, but the texture does hold it, like it makes certain cuts harder. I can feel it holding the cuts up. And that's a pity. But what I actually bought it for was the blade shape, which I disagree about it being like a bug out or a grip. It has much more belly and a much more upturned tip. It's got like everything I like in a blade, which is a good run of straight, and then a pretty deep belly, and then a really pokey tip. And the grip doesn't have a very pokey tip. Neither does the bug out. Not as pokey as this. Neither of them have as deep a belly. The bug out has a pretty good section of straight. But also, neither of them come to as thin behind the edge as this does. And the slicing characteristics of this and the cutting characteristics have been really, really wonderful. But yeah, I adore this blade, as Erica mentioned she does, and I hope that the new handles allow her to enjoy and explore this blade. I think I started to say, and my mind got off track again because I'm not feeling too well. I bought this blade to get into Benchmade CPM D2. I've heard amazing things about the way they treat their regular D2, and I thought, wow, I'd love to see how they do with CPM D2. And I've been so impressed so far with how stable a steel it is. And that's really what it is. Its edge retention has frankly been a little better for me than their S30V, and I think that's because of the things I cut. Is, for me, what makes my S30V dull is that the edge is less stable. I'm not talking about toughness in a prying way or like hitting metal kind of way. I'm talking about at the level of the matrix and the carbides at the edge. The S30V, when it gets misaligned, really needs to be hit with like diamonds or something to get it back. And this is such that if it feels off in the least, I can just wipe it on my pants and it's back to splitting hairs again. And I can go so much longer without stropping this and longer without sharpening it than I can the S30V, even though on paper it shouldn't hold an edge as long. And it just feels smoother when it, especially like if you're cutting hair, if you're cutting a hangnail off, you know, taking it through skin or organic material, you feel how much smoother this is than like an S30V in the same, with the same kind of sharpening. I really like this steel, and I'm really happy to have it. And yeah, and I really love this handle. So another data point for people who might be on the fence about it. You know, you might love this handle or you might hate this handle. I recommend getting it in hand because I saw it and my instincts told me that I'd like it. And it turns out that my instincts in that way were true. But it very clearly doesn't work for everybody. It's not comfortable for everybody. I'm really, really curious to see how the applied weapons tech scales do, and if they are as well balanced, and just, yeah, how they look. There are no complete pictures of them yet. They've sort of teased it, and I'm really fascinated to see what the shape is going to be like. I'll honestly miss this dump truck ass, but I'll be curious to see what they do.